The Cubs and Mets battle under the lights at Wrigley Field as the jockeying for playoff positioning continues on what ended up being a wild night across the league. This is MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Welcome into MLB Game Night. It's every game, every night. I am JD Hafron, host of Locked On Cardinals, and one of the hosts here at MLB Game Night, joined by Jon Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels, who is a not-so-secret believer, big fan of Justin Bieber. You can catch him singing that karaoke constantly over in the great state of California. Coming up on today's show, the Guardians continue to hunt down the Tigers. We got a mega AL East matchup between the Red Sox and Blue Jays. Diamondbacks trying to keep their playoff hopes alive against Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. And my goodness, we had a number of crazy, wild finishes across the league tonight. We're glad you're here to be a part of it. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. All right, we're going to start in Chicago. Mets at the Cubs. The New York Mets, you know about their collapse. You know how they've been falling apart at the seams throughout the month of September, desperately clinging to their third wild card spot as they enter Tuesday tied with the Cincinnati Reds and the Diamondbacks, not far behind out of nowhere. Here come the Snakes. They've had to contend with the top wild card team, the Chicago Cubs, at Wrigley Field tonight. David Peterson would get the start for the Mets, and he's been struggling, let's be honest, over his last four starts. He's opposed by the Cubs' rookie sensation, Cade Horton, who's been very, very impressive so far this season. So could the Mets maintain their playoff spot with a win at Wrigley? Let's find out from Ryan of Locked On Mets, who's got the details on what was an incredible back-and-forth game in Chicago.
Picked up a major victory over the Chicago Cubs, and shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates because now the Mets are back in control of their own destiny. It required a full team effort, though. Tough night at the office for David Peterson. It's been a tough night at the office really since the All-Star break, and David Peterson's supposed to make his next start on Sunday for the New York Mets, and that just can't happen. And think about this for just a second. It was last year, the Sunday, the final day of the regular season, at least what it was supposed to be. David Peterson making the start for the Mets against the Brewers, needing that game to set up the doubleheader against the Atlanta Braves on that final day. Peterson delivered. Now, a year later, Peterson can't be trusted in the most important game potentially of the Mets season. But it is back in control. It is a one-game lead with 5 games to go. It's Jonathan going tomorrow for the New York Mets, and hopefully what happened tonight can be the start of something special.
All right, that's Chris Schubert from the postcast from Locked On Mets. So there's the details on what it felt like on the New York side of things. And you got to love the shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And that's one thing that ends up happening here in this final week is everybody's like, oh, I love this team and this team. You know, you hated them all year. Now you're like, hey, I love these guys. On the other side of things, obviously the loss for the Cubs. Sam of Locked On Cubs shares how things aren't looking good for Chicago with the postseason looming.
Well, if you're a wild card team and you want to get right, just play the Cubs. Cubs lose their 5th straight game. They had a 6-1 lead against the Mets, and they lost 9-7. I'm Sam Older from the Locked On Cubs podcast. Cubs have lost 5 in a row. Like I said, they just don't look playoff ready right now. Unfortunately, Cade Horton had to leave this game early due to hopefully what they're calling precautionary back tightness. But you know, you got to be able to hold that lead. A couple lefties gave up 5 runs worth of homers. Taylor Rogers, a 3-run homer. And then Caleb Thielbar, the game winner, to Francisco Alvarez, a 2-run homer. Dansby Swanson made a pretty big error. Cubs offense did a lot of really good things early, quieted down the stretch. Look, Cubs got 5 games to go to get themselves into any sort of rhythm, to play better baseball. And I'll tell you this, they're now 1.5 up on San Diego. I can't see them going to San Diego and winning a playoff series. I just can't see it. So they got to find a way to make sure that series is at Wrigley, and they got to win some games. But they might have just awoken a Mets beast that's playing for their playoff lives, and the Cubs are going to have to bring the same intensity and play better, because 5 in a row, that's a lot of losses in a row at the wrong time.
Now, Sam mentioned Francisco Alvarez had the game-winning 2-run home run in the top of the 8th inning, and you had some thoughts on Francisco Alvarez, didn't you, John?
Yeah, you know what, JD? In my opinion, if the Mets are making the playoffs this year, I think Francisco Alvarez, he's going to be a series MVP at some point during the postseason. He's one of those guys that you don't think about too much. You don't, he's not one of the biggest names on the team, but he's going to be the Howie Kendrick of 2019, where all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere and delivers a game-winning shot like he did tonight. I'm excited to watch him in the postseason. The guy deserves it, man. He struggled for a long time, and then when he came back and about halfway through this year, he's been very, very good. He's getting hurt, taking pitches off the hand. So I'm excited to see what he can do in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. He was like one of the top 5 prospects in all of baseball. And as you mentioned, the injuries kind of have caught up to him. He's had struggles coming back from them. So, a name certainly to watch if the Mets are able to move on to the postseason. Now, John, Southern California well. Does Sam make a good point about the Cubs needing to play at home instead of going to Petco Park in San Diego to face the Padres?
Well, let me put it this way. The Padres are 3rd in the league behind the Dodgers and Yankees in terms of attendance. And when Petco is rocking, those fans show up and show out. So you certainly wouldn't want to play in San Diego. But you and I have talked about on this show that the Padres could very well sneak into first place in the National League West if things go their way this week. We'll talk about the Dodgers a little bit later. So even if the Dodgers were bumped out of that seed and into a lower slot and the Cubs had to play them in LA, they don't want to do that either, because LA knows how to rock it as well. So either way, the Cubs, they got to maintain their win-loss record, or else they're going to be the visiting club, and they certainly don't want that in San Diego or Los Angeles.
Yeah, and as Sam mentioned, that is 5 in a row for the Cubs in the out column. Not so good. Moving on to a team that has a lot of W's going in up into their standings, the Guardians.
Yeah.
Hosting the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers' commanding lead of the AL Central, which was huge at one point, is long gone. The Guardians were able to climb back into the race for first place as they went on an incredible hot streak, while the Tigers had just not been the same since that trade deadline and lost their 15.5 game lead that they had on the division back on July the 8th, not that long ago. They were up huge, and it's all gone now. Entering today, Cleveland was just 1 game back of Detroit, and these two began a 3-game set that could end up being for all the AL Central marbles. So would the Guardians be able to catch their rival? They'd have to take on Tarek Skubal, arguably the best pitcher in baseball, to do it. Let's turn it over to Justin from Locked On Guardians, who is fired up about what the Guardians are doing right now.
The most improbable comeback reaches fever pitch, but of course, the most improbable win of this entire stretch. And it concludes with your Cleveland Guardians back in first place in the AL Central. Justin Latta here from Locked On Guardians. Could not have a more Guardians game, could not have a more improbable win to reach the peak of this comeback. I don't want to say the comeback, the completion of this comeback is not over yet. They still have to finish off the season. But to win that game against Tarek Skubal, where the ball never left the infield, a bunt hit, an infield single, David Fry, God, I hope he's okay. That was ugly. He gets to first base. The throwing error, the wild pitch, the bullpen, Gavin Williams goes toe-to-toe with Tarek Skubal. That is everything you need to know about the Cleveland Guardians on this run right now. The resilience, everything's going their way. They're back atop of first place. The crowd was rocking. Gonna need to be rocking again all week for the Guardians to hold the Tigers off. Tune into Locked On Guardians for much, much more of your first place Cleveland Guardians.
This is nuts. This is nuts, John.
I love it. I love it.
Supposed to happen. The teams like the Tigers, who are built to win, this isn't supposed to happen. And this collapse has been going on for a little while now. Guardians were 15.5 back on July 8th. Then it was 10.5 back on September 1st, 9.5 back on September 10th. Now here we are on the 23rd going into the 24th, and they're in first place. It's crazy. Justin mentioned that scary moment for David Fry. This was wild because he's trying to lay down the bunt, and Skubal ran a fastball that went up and in. I believe it did tip off the bat. At least that's what it looked like.
Looked like it.
And it just went right into his face.
Yeah.
Like right into his face. Got him in the eye, apparently. Skubal visibly upset after it happened. He like threw his hat off and his glove down. He was like, oh my gosh. I mean, nobody's trying to get anybody hurt out there.
Right.
Just a freak accident where Fry, and he did what you're supposed to do when you're bunting, and people are usually terrible at this, but he squared all the way around and was, face to face. And he just missed it, and it just popped him right in the face.
Yeah.
So he had to get carted off. So hopefully he's going to be okay. But what can you say about this Cleveland Guardians team that has been said over the last couple of weeks? We've been talking about them each night about how improbable this has been. And here they are in first place. How do you think Detroit's feeling right now, John?
Oh, my gosh. Well, the last team they want to face is the Guardians right now, because the Guardians have just been rolling over the last week, and the fact is, I just can't believe that this lead has slipped away the way that it has, JD. I mean, like you said, 15.5 up on July 8th, just 9.5 up on September 10th. That was a little over a week ago. And now the Guardians are right there, first place, tied, and they have the tiebreaker. Yeah. Oh boy. These next two games are crucial if you're a Detroit fan.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to come back and talk about more of these crazy games. Now, you guys aren't going to believe some of the endings that some of these games had. We'll be talking about the Red Sox and the Blue Jays next on MLB Game Night. Today's show is being brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence, which is what you need when you're, doing what you're doing. Rugiet combines two doctor-trusted medications and puts it all together in one dual-action formula. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That is confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. So you can keep going and going. The process is simple, too. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. So if you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to Rugiet.com, spelled RUGIET.com, and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. Once again, that's Rugiet.com, RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Today's show also brought to you by Gametime. Now, there's nothing like catching a baseball game live. Like some of these games tonight, like insane finishes, and you want to be there around the action and be a part of it all. Getting tickets can be a hard thing to do, though. Sometimes you got to deal with a lot of stuff, right? The queues, the login screens, the surprise fees. Takes all the fun out of getting your tickets and going to see your favorite team do some cool stuff. It's why I use Gametime. It's why you need to use Gametime as well. It is the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime's fast. It's easy. It's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets. They're going to be delivered on time, which is key, obviously, and at the best price. So you're going to save some money. Plus, all the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you're going to pay. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful than any other way that I've ever bought tickets. My wife wanted to get tickets yesterday, and I was like, let's get on the Gametime. She was looking at a different place, way more expensive. Gametime, I was like, boom, we're in, let's go. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, we're heading to Toronto, where the Red Sox were taking on the Blue Jays, an AL East matchup. The Red Sox likely won't take the division. All right, let's just be honest. But they are comfortably in that second wild card spot. So they're going to be going to the playoffs more than likely. In fact, they might end up helping out their rival Yankees with a series win, who have a pretty easy schedule to finish out the 2025 season. So in this one, you had Lucas Giolito for the Red Sox against Kevin Gausman on the mound for Toronto. Could the Blue Jays continue their dominance of the American League, or would the Red Sox show the Toronto crowd what they're made of? Well, Red Sox ended up taking this one by a score of 4-1. So not a whole lot of action in that one, but it's Boston trying to get more wins. Toronto just trying to hang on. I feel like they're not the same team without Bo Bichette. Your thoughts on what's going on with Toronto since that Bo Bichette injury?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear, isn't it? You need Bo Bichette in this lineup. You need his high batting average in this lineup, and that's the advantage the Blue Jays have over most teams. They don't strike out. They put the ball in play. And on this night, Nathaniel Lowe was the hero for Boston, and he's somebody that they acquired after the Nationals let him go. And so there you go. It's working out for Boston to have him on this team. A great pickup, a great addition. Gossman and Giolito, they were all right. Giolito didn't get the win in this one. Gossman, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. Should have been enough to get the job done, but with Blue Jays only putting up 1 run, that's not good for anybody, especially in Toronto.
Yeah. So Boston now a game ahead of the Detroit Tigers for that second wild card spot at 86 and 71. Toronto falls to 90 and 67. So they still got a couple of games up on the Seattle Mariners, who they're still fighting for that top spot. So none of this is set in stone yet, which is why it makes it all that much more exciting. Let's move on to San Diego, where the Brewers were visiting the Padres. We had kind of a postseason preview on Monday night, a very exciting game that went to extra innings. Both teams still have something to fight for, of course, as the Brewers would like to maintain the best record in baseball and earn that number 1 seed in the playoffs. Well, the Padres, we mentioned, they still got a chance to take over the Los Angeles Dodgers and win the NL West if things go their way. Tuesday night, it was all Padres in this one, who lit up Milwaukee starter Bruce Zimmerman for 6 runs in 6 innings, including a first inning grand slam by Ryan O'Hearn. Meanwhile, Randy Vasquez, he was awesome for San Diego, fired 7 shutout innings, allowing just 1 hit. He struck out 3. Padres got the home runs from O'Hearn, as I mentioned, Luis Arraez, Jose Iglesias, 2 guys who don't hit a lot of home runs normally, but were able to hit long flies tonight. They shut out the Brew Crew by a score of 7-0. We got Chuck from Locked On Brewers with his thoughts on a 3rd straight loss for Milwaukee.
The game had very little entertainment value, very little. And you can't say that much with the Milwaukee Brewers this year. Hey, everybody, Chuck Freeman, Instant Reaction, Locked On Brewers. Started Bruce Zimmerman, a guy they're trying to make good, 30-year-old left-hander. He got hit with a grand slam in the first inning, and that was it right there. I mean, there was nothing to this game. Brewers offensively couldn't do anything. Best part about it, Zimmerman pitched 6 innings and ate up some innings tonight. All right? It's probably not going to be a long-term solution. You might see him pitch later on this weekend. Who knows? Oh, the Brewers' magic number did get cut to 2, thanks to Philly blowing a late 3-0 lead against Miami. So that was at least another good sign tonight. Other than that, that Brewer game tonight was a complete waste of time, other than the fact that the magic number got reduced for something they didn't even do, and that was Philadelphia getting beat. See ya tomorrow on the next edition of Locked On Brewers, early tomorrow morning, everybody.
Look at Chuck selling our lead into the Phillies game later on. Well,
right.
Whatever. We're still going to talk about it here in a little bit. But Milwaukee loses their 3rd in a row. I worry about teams that go on losing streaks leading up to the playoffs. So Milwaukee better get their act together, because there's not a lot of people. So despite having the best record in baseball, there's not a lot of people expecting them to do a whole lot in the playoffs. There's sexier teams out there. And if they really want to prove themselves, to not just be that regular season team that they have been the last couple of years, they're going to need to do some damage here in the postseason. So they gotta get going once again, so that they don't get sent home packing early once again here in 2025. Let's go to Cincinnati, where the Pirates are visiting the Reds. The Reds nabbed themselves a postseason spot over the weekend when they tied the Mets for that 3rd wild card spot in the National League. They haven't clinched anything yet, but they're in there. If the season ended today, they would be in there. They'd begin the final week of regular season baseball with a favorable matchup against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have been long eliminated from anything. But Pirates pitching isn't that bad. It really isn't. And Pittsburgh would love to play spoiler for their fellow NL Central rival. So would it be the Reds delivering the win at home, or would the Pirates pitching be able to silence those Cincinnati Reds bats? Let's hear from Gary from Locked On Pirates, who's got some words for the Reds.
Bucks beat the Cincinnati Reds 4-2 tonight. Another excellent pitching night from the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've just surrendered their first walk in, I think, over a week in the bullpen tonight. The Cincinnati Reds double played themselves out of any chance to come back in this one. Hey, this is Gary from Locked On Pirates, and I'm a lot happier than my counterparts over at Locked On Reds tonight. The Bucks had a chance to play spoiler here in this one. We talked about it on this morning's show. And that's exactly what happened in this one. And now they get the horns tomorrow. Paul Skeens versus Hunter Green. We'll see how much the Reds really want it, because if you can't beat the Pirates, no matter what you run into on the mound, if you can't beat this version of the Pittsburgh Pirates, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. And yes, I can say that from this really, really low perch as a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. We're going to talk a lot more about this tomorrow morning. We're going to answer some really fun AMA questions too. Locked on Pirates, be there.
All right, so Gary throwing down the gauntlet like you don't deserve it.
As he should.
You couldn't beat us. You don't deserve it. Yes, Jeff Carr, host of Locked On Reds, very disappointed with his team not doing much to win outside of a big night from Elly De La Cruz. Here he is.
Well, Elly De La Cruz tried, but he can't do it all himself, apparently. I mean, gets on base 4 times and he gets no help. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the vibes are high. We got hashtag PackGABP, and we've got all the best vibes you've ever heard of in the entire season, and hype videos. Doesn't matter. Elly De La Cruz homers, 2-run homer, 2 singles, walk. He gets on base 4 times. The only time he scored was when he scored himself on a home run. The rest of the lineup had nothing. I mean, Spencer Steer walked a couple of times. He scored off that first walk. He was the other part of that 2-run home run. Miguel Andujar had a hit. TJ Friedl had a hit and a walk. And everyone else stunk. Horrible night from Matt McClain. Matt McClain killed so many rallies tonight. But the double play ball killed so many rallies tonight. Where's the run game? This was a horrible showing by the Reds to start this Pirate series. They're playing not to lose. You can tell me all you want about vibes. The performance says otherwise.
Yeah, not a good showing at all, but should be a good pitching matchup on Wednesday. As Gary mentioned, Skeens against Hunter Green. There's a lot of rain in the forecast in Cincinnati, so hopefully that game does not get washed out, because that would be a shame. Coming up, more crazy finishes. We got the Yankees. We got the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. We got the Cardinals and the Giants, the Phillies and the Marlins. Crazy night for Major League Baseball. All of it on the way on MLB Game Night. Today's show being brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, the new customers can bet just $5, $5 little dollars. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app in any way you want to do it. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet. Whatever I'm in the mood for. We can do player props, which is always great. Same game parlays are a lot of fun because you need a whole lot of things to work out for you. But if it hits, big money. Or you can jump into live action as it unfolds. Whatever you're feeling that day, FanDuel's got something for you. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to game day. So are you ready to play? That is the question. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the AL East is not out of reach just yet. The Yankees are hosting the Chicago White Sox and are hoping to pick up some easy wins as they race to the postseason. And whether or not the Yankees will end up as the AL East champs or a wild card team, a win tonight would clinch them a place in the postseason. So could the Yankees punch their ticket? Let's hear from Brian of Locked On Yankees to find out.
Yankees win and the Yankees clinch a postseason spot behind a walk-off from Jose Caballero. I'm Brian McCann of Locked On Yankees. A game that had all the emotions involved, couldn't hit through most of it. A crucial 2-run homer off a bad fielding mistake from the Yankees, but they got the win. A huge comeback in the bottom of the ninth to put together 2 runs and win the game. They're now a singular game behind the Toronto Blue Jays after they lost to the Boston Red Sox. You have to keep the pressure on. Toronto is playing a team that needs to win games, and the Yankees are playing a team that really does not care. This was an all-time win during this season for the New York Yankees as their trade deadline acquisition and Jose Caballero wins it and walks it off for them. So pumped, so excited. Catch all of it on Locked On Yankees.
If you're watching on YouTube, like you can't even see Brian. He's like a shadow.
He's got the mood lighting going on. I love it. There you go.
He was nervous. He had the lights off. He was ready to party. Congratulations to Brian and the Yankees. Headed back to the postseason. Chicago took a 2-1 lead in the sixth, carried it to the bottom of the ninth when the Yankees got 2 on with nobody out. Trent Grisham grounded into a double play while Volpe was able to get to third on the plate. Scores on a wild pitch, and then a Bellinger walk moved Judge to second, who scored on that Caballero single to center field to walk it off. So congrats to the Yankees. Dodgers at Diamondbacks. Shohei Ohtani back in the hill as the Dodgers try to stave off the Padres in the NL West, while the D-backs came into the night just 1 game back of the Mets and the Reds for that third wild card spot. So if they were to lose and the Diamondbacks would win, then we'd all be tied once again. And right. Ohtani is starting to look like the Ohtani of old, isn't he, John?
Yeah, 6 scoreless innings, 5 hits, 8 Ks on 91 pitches. That's a good workload, 91 pitches. Ohtani is really getting back there. Now, the Dodgers put up 3 on the D-backs starter Brandon Pfaadt and earned 1 more on a Brendan Wortfett solo homer. But the Dodgers bullpen, still a sore spot, JD. Jack Dreyer gave up an RBI double to James McCann. That made it 4-1. Edgardo Henriquez surrendered a 2-run homer on a pinch hit appearance from Adrian Del Castillo. Down 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth. The Diamondbacks get 2 on with no out, thanks to, guess who? Tanner Scott. A hit by pitch and a walk to the first 2 batters. James McCann hit a sac bunt to move him over. And then center fielder Jorge Barrosa hit a sac fly to tie the game at 4. Geraldo Perdomo comes through clutch with a single to left field to score Tawa from second. Overcomes a 4-0 deficit to come back and win it 5-4 on a walk-off in 9 innings.
Yeah, so now the Diamondbacks are just a game out. They still remain a game out, I should say, of that third wild card spot with the Mets getting the victory and the Reds losing tonight. So they're now tied with the Reds in that spot behind the Mets. So it's getting tight. It's crazy that Arizona is even in this. They traded Suarez and Naylor and Merrill Kelly. Like, they were out. They were like, we're cool. We're done. We got it. And look at them. Look at them. They're back. It's insane. I can't stop saying the word, because what we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now is exactly why they've got all these wild card spots, because they want this type of action happening, and I'm having a good time with it. Marlins and Phillies. The Phillies gave their starter Christopher Sanchez a 3-run lead by the second inning. He cruised through 7 shutout innings, so should be over, right? Well, no. Marlins have won 6 in a row in 10 of their last 11. Coming into Tuesday's game, they rallied back late against the Phillies bullpen. They would take it into extra innings after a rain delay where both teams would fight into the 11th inning. Connor from Locked On Phillies with us with some tough talk for the Philadelphia bullpen.
Well, since the Phillies decided to keep us up super late tonight, I'll tell them, wake up, all right? I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies, and the Phils lose 6-5 to the Marlins in the 11th, and the offense scores 3 runs early, and it goes absolutely silent. The bullpen, they give up the lead in just a couple innings worth of work behind Christopher Sanchez, who was awesome tonight. Like, he's the only one that I look at and I say, all right, man, you had yourself a night. And it's a major shame that he did not get a win out of this performance. I mean, the offense will be fine. Trey Turner will come back. Bryce Harper was sick tonight. They'll be all good. But this bullpen, man, I'm not hitting any type of panic button, but Orion Kirkring's worrying me. David Robertson can't throw back-to-back outings. Joan Duran gave up another home run. Like, boys, you better wake up next couple of games. You got 5 left to show us you're hot going into October. We'll talk on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
All right, so now looking at the NL standings, the Brewers have lost 3 in a row. The Phillies have lost 3 in a row. The Dodgers have lost back-to-back games. And the Cubs have lost 5 in a row. The top 4 seeds in the National League are just falling apart at the seams right now. So a tough loss for the Phillies. But at the same time, like Connor said, got to wake up, man. Yep. Postseason's right around the corner. You don't want to be asleep at the wheel when you get there. All right, we're going to take you to San Francisco, where the St. Louis Cardinals are visiting the Giants. They came into tonight tied at 3.5 back in the NL wildcard. Redbirds took game 1 on Monday night. Tuesday, Logan Webb for the Giants against Andre Pallante. On paper, that is a huge mismatch, but the Cardinals jump out to a 3-0 lead in the first and seem to be off and running. But Pallante, He's going to Palante. I don't know if it's been used as a verb before, but it's being used now because after 2 good innings, he falls apart, has some trouble against the bottom of the order in the 3rd inning. Single, walk, single, flips the lineup over, top of the lineup, starts beating him up. Quickly, your thoughts on this play, John. With the bases loaded, nobody out, he gets a ground ball to third base. Nolan Arenado coming home to get the force out at the plate, and the runner purposely jets inside on the infield grass and gets in the way of the ball. Ball hits him, trickles away, 2-run score. You can't do that type of nonsense when you're running to first base. They have that little box for you to run into, so that doesn't happen. But apparently coming home, unless it's a tag play, there is no baseline. So my man could go run to the mound if he wants to. That's okay because it's not a tag play. It just looked ridiculous because he wasn't trying to score. He was just trying to get in the way, and I thought that was stupid.
Well, you know what? If it's not in the rule book, make it happen. Take advantage. That's what I say.
Yeah, and it worked out because it started what ended up being a chain reaction. The Giants get 5. They end up going up 8-3 at one point, but the Cardinals fight back. 3-run homer by Herrera makes it 8-6. Then you get a solo home run from Arenado to make it 8-7. Top of the 9th, leadoff single, then a double. Brendan Donovan hit 4 doubles on the night for the Cardinals, ties the game up. That also tied a Major League record. And then an RBI single by Alec Burleson in the top of the 9th. Birds win it by a score of 9-8. Astros in Sacramento to face the A's. It started off bad for Christian Javier, who missed a pop-up to allow the first run. First off, pitchers aren't supposed to be fielding pop-ups, but the infield couldn't get to it in time, and so he looked ridiculous. That led to the first run for the A's in the first. He'd give up 4 runs on 6 hits and 4 2/3. No home runs in this one, which is weird for that ballpark.
Yeah.
But the A's scored 5 runs on 9 hits to win it by a score of 5-1. The Astros have now lost 4 in a row and are 1 game back in the wild card behind the Tigers, who have now lost 7 in a row. Who wants the spot? Somebody raise their hand.
Nobody wants
Nationals
it,
in Atlanta. The Braves continue to roll as their 2025 season comes to a close. On Monday, they earned their 9th win in a row against the Washington Nationals in a dominant win, and they take this one by a score of 3-2. 3 home runs, 2 of them from Michael Harris II, and 1 from Ronald Acuna Jr. was all the Braves would need behind the stellar start from Hurston Waldrop. James Wood for the Nationals would have a nice night, 2 for 3, double and a home run. But look at the Braves have now won 10 in a row. Hottest team in baseball. Wild. Little too late, but it is what it is. Rockies at the Mariners. The Mariners are the sole owners of first place in the AL West with a 3-game lead over the Astros. They had the Rockies in town for a 3-game set. Rockies would actually hold a 1-0 lead and then a 3-1 lead in this game. They got broken up when the Mariners got a big 8th inning thanks to Josh Naylor's 2-out bases clearing double. They put the M's up 4-3. That's how it would end. Mariners clinched their spot in the postseason. Congratulations to them. Twins got a strong start out of Zebby Matthews, who went 7 innings with 6 Ks and 1 earned on a solo home run. He's had a very uneven season, but someone the Twins will certainly be counting on in the rotation in 2026 at just 25 years of age. It was the 8th straight loss for the Rangers, and it officially eliminated them from playoff contention. A couple weeks ago, we were talking, hey, look at the Rangers go.
Look at them go.
They're going to be a tough battle to, if they get to no, they're out. They're not even a part of it anymore. So no need to talk about them any further. Rays of the Orioles, Ryan Pepiot versus Dean Kramer in this pitching matchup. It was all Baltimore. They blanked the Rays by a score of 6-0. Kramer goes 6 1/3, allowing just 1 hit, strikes out 4. Bullpen comes in to clean up the rest. O's get a 2-run home run from Colton Cowser. Gunnar Henderson drove in 2. Final score 6-0. Finally, Royals at Angels. I'll shut up. John, the floor is yours.
Yeah, 8-4 in favor of the Royals. Angels made it interesting in the 9th inning, but Cole Reagans was electric to start this game for the Royals. Struck out 3 in the first, struck out the side in the second, notched his 7th K to start the third, struck out 2 more to start the 5th, and then got Mike Trout to K for his 10th K of the night across 5 innings on 72 pitches. The Angels are 70 strikeouts away from breaking the Twins record for most strikeouts in an MLB season.
You don't want that record, John.
No, we do not want. You know what? I do want it because I want us to fire our hitting coach. So let's get it. Let's get it, boys. Come on.
All right. Well, that'll wrap things up. It's just a crazy night across Major League Baseball. A lot of interesting and entertaining finishes, and this is what the rest of this week's going to look like. So we hope you enjoyed this episode of MLB Game Night. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We hope you guys will come back and visit us next time for more wild and crazy MLB action on MLB Game Night, every game, every night.